$200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on the Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your hosts, Soul Blazer and George.
Hello, everybody. This is Super NES Podcast, episode number 137 this time around. As always, I am Greg. He is George.
Yeah, that's me. Or sometimes I'm called Brick Wall. Nobody will get that. And I that's a great inside joke.
Yes, I can explain that to someone at Facebook later on if they're curious. But anyway, as teased before, we are very delighted and honored to have a guest host with us like this episode. I'm very pleased to introduce Ray to the podcast.
Hello, Greg.
Can we call you Rayman, or is that like?
I actually thought about that, like the little yellow dude with red hair.
Yep. So Ray said he wanted to be on the podcast. He brought a game to the table for us to talk about. We're going to be covering the classic beat 'em up game Killer Instinct in this episode. So.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this. The table's getting a little wobbly. We can put it under it.
We can just use a matchbook.
I think Killer Instinct's a very good doorstop. No, I'm kidding.
Are we already getting a hot take from George?
Apparently so.
Bio-Mo, he's spitting out fire.
But anyway, Ray, very good to have you on the podcast. I usually ask anybody who's on the podcast for the first time, tell us a bit about yourself and what history of the system is.
Well, I'm just a 42-year-old collector. I've been playing games since I was 7 years old, and I have held on to absolutely everything.
So, what's your history of Super NES? Did you have as a kid?
I was actually a Genesis kid.
Okay.
Sorry. Whoa, get out of here. Okay, go on. Go on.
No, but I went from the NES to the Genesis, and then once that 16-bit era moved on, that's when I got a Super Nintendo because nobody else cared about it. I was like, yeah, give me that. I'll take it. So
did you get the... did you pick up the later Model 2, or did you get one of the older ones?
No, the original one.
Okay.
But my first experience with the Super Nintendo was actually an arcade machine in the laundromat. We used to go to every Saturday.
Yep.
And you could play Super Mario World, Super Tennis, Pilot Wings, or I think it was SimCity.
Yep. Those arcade machines were not as common as the NES ones, but they were out there. So
you're telling me there was only one good game on there?
Ooh.
Oh no, it was F-Zero. It was F-Zero, not SimCity.
Yeah, F-Zero makes more sense, but
every Saturday when we would go to the laundromat, I'd go to that machine and I'd play those games and wish that I had a Super Nintendo.
Which one is your favorite out of those games?
F-Zero.
Okay,
a good choice. Yep. So the ratio of game time to money, however, that system sucked.
Well, that's the thing.
It's a machine designed to take your money, Greg. What do you expect?
Well, the NES one was not as bad, so.
Oh, really?
Okay. You're talking about the Play Choice 10?
Yes, yeah, so.
Yeah. But with F-Zero, you can put in a quarter and blast through a race and have a good time. With Super Mario World, you weren't going to get very far.
No. But, okay, that's cool. So what about Killer Instinct? What's your history of that?
I remember the arcade machine just because it was so loud.
Yep.
I mean, you would walk into an arcade and you'd have the people gathered around like Dragon's Lair because it looked so cool.
Right.
But then you'd hear Combo Breaker, and it's like then it's like you're tuning your head. It's like, wait, what is that?
My first exposure to this, like, was in the arcades. Like the arcade machine. Also, I was in college when this came out, and we had a small game room in our student union, which had about maybe 5 or 6 arcade games in it, plus also like a pinball table.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they swap the, they swap the games out every semester, and this game was popular enough to be in there for 2 semesters. That's basically the whole year. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah. So I did not. I knew about the Super NES version of the game. This is actually, but I never actually played it until now for the podcast, because honestly, I'm not a huge fighting game fan. But I did spend some time playing the arcade game with friends, though. We certainly had some fun.
Well, see, I personally like fighting games and racing games for the same reason, is that if you're not up for sitting for an hour or so, and you just want to play a game for 15-20 minutes, okay, I'll go play a round of Street Fighter,
right,
or I'll go do a lap on Cruising USA or whatever.
Sure. So when did you get the Super NES version of the game?
That was one of the first games that I wanted when I got my SNES.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right.
Of course you wanted Super Mario World, but then it was top 5 would be Link to the Past, SimCity, F-Zero, and Killer Instinct.
Okay. Cool. George, what about you? Do you have any history of this game?
Not really.
Neither the arcade, the arcade original, like the Super NES version.
No. Try to think. Have I played the N6? I might have played. There's one on N64, right?
Yes, a sequel.
I might have played that. I don't remember.
But
no. Somehow this has eluded me. I played Primal Rage and stuff like that, but I haven't seen it. I don't think I've seen a cab of this out in the wild.
Well, it's very, it's a very popular arcade machine. I'm sure there's a bunch of them store, around there. But
I'm sure there's at least one around here somewhere. But who the heck knows where it is? I don't have a Killer Instinct cabinet finder.
Right.
Okay, funny thing that I learned is that there was apparently a thing in the arcade machine where, as Cinder, you could get an ultimate combo every single time just by doing a spin kick.
Yes,
and they had to go and reboot every single machine.
Yep. Midway was known for doing that. I mean, Midway arcade machines are particularly notorious for having quote unquote bugs present in the game. Some of which went back to get fixed, some of them not. So
I mean, they had a lot of updates to Mortal Kombat, didn't they?
A lot of updates. Yep.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2 got at least several.
But a lot of those updates were because of jokes they wanted to put in and stuff like that.
True.
And to screw around with players and God dang it, Ed Boon.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I like Killer Instinct so much is because I had gotten bored of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2.
So why did you go to a more boring game?
Ooh.
Well, listen. Okay. Seriously, Street Fighter 2 was revolutionary, but it's the only game in history up until Final Fantasy did it where the sequel had its own sequels.
Right.
Oh, jeez. I don't even want to talk about sequels to sequels.
But yeah, Killer Instinct did bring several new things to the table, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So I definitely can see this is definitely a very different take on a fighting game. So whether or not you enjoyed it just depends upon your preference, your preference on things. But why don't we get into it?
Apparently that was the getting into it noise.
So this game was developed by Rare, who at least back then was an excellent video game developer. So pretty much anything anything that they worked on is like at least a decent game, if not good. So some very good history here. The game was originally developed in partnership with like Nintendo because it was supposed to be. It's a little bit it's a little bit complicated to explain, but just basically the hardware that the arcade game uses is similar, but not quite what ended up coming out like on the N64. Because they when this game came out originally in the arcades in 1994, Nintendo was already working on Ultra 64, the code name for the like the next generation system, and they still had and they're still planning a 1995 release for that system. As a matter of fact, they get the arcade games attract mode advertises available for your home in 1995, but only on the Ultra 64. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So they were still planning upon it being, and the plan was for Killer Instinct to be a launch game like that system. So the arcade machine uses a very similar but not quite final version of the hardware that the N64 uses because of that. So, for example, the arcade game was the arcade game was the first game to have an internal hard drive in it as well, besides the game's ROM, to help to store all the graphics and the backgrounds, everything that the game used. So, it also had a very for its time beefy processor, which clocked in 100 megahertz. So the arcade hardware was definitely a beast, which is one of the reasons the game looks so damn gorgeous, like in arcades. But it sounded amazing too. Yeah, very good sound system play on as well too. So when Nintendo realized that the N64 was not going to be available in 1995, they're like, well, we'll just downgrade the game onto the Super NES instead. So the Super NES version of the game came out in North America in August 1995, and then it came out in Europe about 3 weeks later. The game also came out later on that year for the Game Boy, which is a really limited version of the game.
Boy!
But
no, Greg, I told you about this. It's better than it has any right to be.
It's not bad. I mean, all things considered, it's not. It's playable.
It's missing.
Is that how good it is? You can choose a character and it's playable. That's how good it is.
No, but as far as a fighting game on the original Game Boy goes, I think it's the best. It's missing a couple characters, and you don't get all the flash from it, but
right.
I play it on my Super Game Boy. I got my Super Game Boy, and just to test it out, I plugged that in, and my neighbor and I sat and played it for like 20 minutes before we realized, wait, I have the actual Super Nintendo version of this game.
That was one of the small upgrades that the Super Game Boy offered, 2-player mode. So
yeah,
but yeah, all things considered, the Game Boy version of the game is not bad. Considering how powerful this game was, like on the arcade. But and to be fair, the Super NES version of the game is pretty gimped too, like in several ways, which we'll get into here, like in a little bit. But so obviously Nintendo published the game with the Super NES. So we've already talked about Rare Midway in past episodes, so we won't spend too much time on that. But I mentioned earlier how Killer Instinct tried to be different by offering several different features to distinguish it from other fighting games. So one of them is how the combat where itself is determined. Instead of having to win 2 out of 3 matches, like in most fighting games, you have a double energy bar instead, and whoever depletes the other person's two bars first wins. So a little bit like it's like a one-on-one match then in that way instead. You only have to only win one fight to advance. So
it's a pretty cool idea, I have to say.
It is, yes. Also very cool, automatic combos. You can just do so you don't have to worry about trying to memorize a 10-button sequence to pull off special special combos and whatnot, like in most of the fighting games, you just have to do the initial relatively easy button push to sequence in the game, but the game does, and the game like that, then it's the combo for you, which is very nice.
I don't like that because the AI uses it against me too often.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I am not very good at this game. My 13-year-old daughter can kick my butt all day long. Because for me as a button masher, I don't utilize the combo system because I don't know how to pull it off. But
it's much
still
easier
fun.
in this game than it is other games.
Okay. On that note, I think it's like, okay, Greg, I don't mean to jump the gun on you if you're gonna talk about the characters.
I will. Yeah.
But the fact that the boxer's name is Combo
Yeah, I thought that was quite odd.
is ridiculous to me. It'd be like if a character in Mortal Kombat was named Fatality. You know? And like, after like kind of digging into the history of the game, Combo's name was originally Mr. Fist.
I love that name better than Combo. Mr. Fist. Sounds like a weird supervillain.
No, it sounds like a porno.
Okay. I'm Mr. Fist.
No, but seriously, like imagine if like a character in Street Fighter 2 was named Hadouken. You know, it's like the combo system in this game is one of the main features, and it's been stolen by every other game since then.
Yep, which is a sign it did something right. So, but
is it though?
Yeah. Well, yes, because the good ideas are copied and the bad ideas are left to die. Which
How about microtransactions in video games, Greg?
Well, I said.
Just because everybody doesn't mean it's good.
I said good ideas by the programmers. I never, not by the game players. But so.
Well, game players don't bring in the microtransactions. It has to be coded in.
Right, the programmers did it. They think it's a good idea. So, but.
Well, Mr. Fist would take care of that, I'm sure.
Yes. But anyway, speaking about the combos, also, you also have the ultra combo ability, which is kind of like a finisher, a finishing move. It allows you to deliver a long string of hits as a combo finisher instead, which is usually at least 20 hits. Sometimes it can get upwards of 80 hits. So it's like really impressive to pull off.
And another fun fact is it's guaranteed to piss me off.
Oh yes, because you can't do crap about it.
Yep.
Unless you're
well, George, if you do your homework, you can do a combo breaker.
I'm tired of doing homework. Okay, I'm done with that. I'm done with homework.
The combo breaker is also something that's pretty unique, like this game. If you pull it off at the right time, you're able to interrupt the sequence, and there'd be a white starburst like appear like above the kind of the tip of the berserker's on the health bar, which allow you to do to counterattack with some special versions like your own moves.
Are we talking about a lemon starburst or like what flavor?
No, white, just a generic white starburst.
What does that taste like?
I for one always thought a combo breaker is just when you don't want to eat the pretzel, so you crack it open and just eat the cheese out of it.
Why would you do that? What kind of supervillain are you? You're a horrible person if you do that.
Right.
What?
And so speaking about finishing moves,
that sounds like that came from a past experience you had. Either you or someone you know has to go to jail right now.
Oh, okay, George, calm down.
That sounds so ridiculous. Why would you break open a combo to get the cheese?
Well, anyway.
Well, maybe you're on a Atkins diet or something, and you don't want the carbs.
Maybe you shouldn't be buying combos. Oh, jeez.
Anyway, I was saying the finishing moves are also shared in this game. There's 2 moves each character can do, like finishing move. There's also a very unique finishing move called the humiliation, which forces your opponent to dance. It is the funniest thing to see.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, it is. It is weird.
George, you haven't lived until you've seen full gore twerk.
Oh, jeez.
But so yeah. Anyway, those are the quote unquote unique things that the game brought to the table. And I think for the most part they worked. I mean, like the combo moves are easier to pull off in this game. The game being able to being able to interrupt the chains is awesome. The double energy bar kind of makes for like shorter fights because it's only like 1 round instead of like a 2 out of 3. So for the most part, I think the changes are pretty good.
Yeah, back to the humiliation thing. It harkens back to when Mortal Kombat introduced like the friendships.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was Mortal Kombat
and the
3,
babalities.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, the babalities.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when Mortal Kombat 3 came out, so I don't know which game predated the other one. So.
Have you heard of a thing called Google?
Yes, I just have like numerous windows up like right now though. So.
I can do it for you.
I'm still on Yahoo.
Probably was around 95.
How's that 1996 feeling going?
Hey, I told you I'm always a couple generations behind.
Couple? Is that really? I guess. Wow. Jeez.
But one of the things that I loved about this game is that at the time it came out, I was so bored with Street Fighter 2,
right?
Having so many of its own sequels.
Killer Instinct came out 94, and Mortal Kombat 3 came out 95.
Okay, all right.
But it's like here's Street Fighter 2, here's Street Fighter 2 Turbo, here's Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, here's Super Street Fighter 2. It's like
Street Fighter
until
Alpha.
Until Final Fantasy started to do it, I don't think any sequel has had as many sequels as Street Fighter 2.
And then there's the bootleg Master System port, Street Fighter 2 Dash or whatever, and that's an awful game.
Yep. I remember that. So.
Yeah, that's a Brazilian effort.
So Ray mentioned the characters earlier, and this is a very unique cast of characters in the game for sure. So there's 10 playable characters in the game: Black Orchid, Chief Thunder, Cinder, Fulgore, Glacius, Jago, Riptor, Saberwolf, Spino, and TJ Combo. So but to quote GamePro, like, what other fighting game can have like a game of like which includes a dinosaur, a sword wielding skeleton, a creature made out of ice, like in a weird monster mutant person. So
Soul Calibur.
Yeah, well, so, this game was first, so
different generation, George.
Yes. Hey, you asked a question, I answered it.
Okay, I have to say, I did play the Super Nintendo game for a little while this afternoon, and I had so much fun playing as Riptor, just because he has such a reach.
Yes, he's a good character.
You can just kick people in the crotch and win a match.
Okay. First you're breaking open combos just to eat the cheese, and now you're kicking people in the nuts? I don't know, man.
Well, George, you and I can still be friends.
I don't know.
So what was your favorite character to use, George?
What was the ice guy giant man thing?
Oh,
yes. Glacier.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy, I guess, because I got far enough. I got somewhat far with him.
What's funny is that character, you use basically the same control options that you would to do Sub-Zero's moves.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, for me personally, despite the fact the guy has a horrible name, I did. So I probably enjoy like using like TJ Combo the most because he's a pretty good character.
Well, because he's a pretzel wrapped around cheese.
Not always cheese though, and not always a pretzel.
True.
You ever have the buffalo chicken ones?
Man, like when I play this game with my daughter, of course she always plays as Orchid. And
right, yep.
And I've found Fulgore to be aesthetically the most badass character ever. Like he should have his own game.
Right.
Like Fulgore just looks amazing. But play wise, I have the most luck with Saberwolf.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think they all look super crusty.
How do you mean that, George?
It's like it's like they're a battery that was left in electronic for 20 years, and you pop open the back and it's all corroded. That's what it kind of looks like.
Well, what's funny, Greg, I don't know if you read about this or not, but they tried to use the Mode 7 to simulate the 3D of the actual game.
Right. Yep. Yeah. The Super NES version was definitely downgraded quite a bit. I guess we'll talk about that now.
There's a huge difference in hardware.
There's a big difference in hardware because their arcade machine was like literally like way more powerful than this was. So
no, it was originally intended to be a launch title for the 64,
right? Exactly.
But when the 64 was delayed, they were like, screw it, Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
they were probably trying to figure out how to make the controller better, and they gave up.
So as Ray just mentioned, the 3D stages that the arcade game had were turned to 2D stages in the Super NES version of the game, with like Mode 7 being used for pseudo 3D effect, and also like parallax scrolling for the background and whatnot. So, the graphical detail was vastly reduced, of course. The character, the character sprites are smaller. Zooming and scaling were all taken out. Some of the stages were designed to be smaller or to be less complicated as far as graphical looks or background went, to make them easier to show up on the on the more limited hardware of the Super NES. So after victory, the arcade version of the game showed you full motion video. That was replaced by still images, like in the home port. Voice samples and sound effects were shortened or taken out altogether. The bit rate of the music is a lower quality.
Of course.
Some of the special graphical effects with the special moves were taken out. On the plus side, however, all the characters' special moves and danger moves were kept in. They also added in a training mode and tournament mode, which was used for multiplayer purposes. So, all things considered, I think they did a very good job porting the game onto Super NES because considering how much more limited in power that system was, like the arcade game. I mean, yes, it's unfortunate all those things had to be chopped, but they really didn't have a choice. And considering what they had to work with, it's still the gameplay is still 100% intact. So, and that's the most important thing to have present, I think.
Oh, I agree. Like back when it came out, I didn't care that it wasn't exactly like the arcade game. I was just happy to have it to play in my bedroom.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah. Same thing. Like harkening back to the Atari days. It's like they weren't gonna make, games like Defender or Asteroids arcade perfect, but it was close enough.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they had to cut down the graphics, they had to cut down the music, but yeah, so like almost all the gameplay is carried over intact. So so you got to give them credit for that. So, but speaking about the graphics, even though they are downgraded, the graphics in this game are still very good. I mean, like, there's some, very nice colors, some very nice, parallax 3D stuff going on. Thanks to Mode 7, the backgrounds are all very flushed, and full, like, look gorgeous. It's a very, like, pretty game.
Well, Greg, if I'm not mistaken, this was the same team who did Donkey Kong Country.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, different hardware, of course, but yes, same team. So,
George, are you still with us?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep. What?
So what do you think about the graphics, George?
They're crusty. I don't know. I wasn't very impressed with them, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might just be a me thing, I guess.
Was there something about the graphics that put you off, or?
It's not like they're like, oh my god, they're disgusting, get away from me. But it was just like, I don't know. It looks like they tried doing something, and they certainly did something.
George, okay, play Eternal Champions on the Genesis, and then play this. And you will think this is the most brilliant thing you've ever seen.
Maybe I will.
But yeah, so so the music of this game also, I think, is like very good still. I mean, like, even though it is downgraded in quality like the arcade version, all the songs are here and some good pieces. So it's a very good, like, fighting game music.
I agree. The Super Nintendo sound chip has always, I mean, it's been, people have talked about it being muddy, but when it's done right, it's done right. And I think
yeah.
It's not the CD quality music that the arcade had, but what do you expect?
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there were a few instruments that the Super NES sound chip couldn't do very well, but I think for the most part, it's able to play most everything very, very well. And this game definitely is, like, very good for it, like, for sure. So, did you find the music tolerable, George?
I don't think it was bad.
Okay. Was it?
From what I remember, it seemed good.
Okay. All right.
Did it make you want to dance?
No, that's reserved for Square games.
Oh. Well, speaking about the music, and I didn't actually know this until I was doing some research on it. And also, Ray, you mentioned this earlier to me too. Also, I think that we were talking about it. There was a special pack-in available in the home version of the game.
Yes.
The first 100,000 copies of the game sold in the U.S. The first 20,000 copies sold in Canada. Included a soundtrack CD in the box, which was called Killer Cuts.
Yes.
Which actually had all the music. Like the game on it. So
it was the entire arcade soundtrack,
right? So
and it was like the people were so blown away by the music from the arcade machine that they made a CD out of it,
right? So you can tell which ones had the CD because there's a sticker like on the front of the box that will identify the ones that have it versus the one that don't. Because I said, like, this game sold like hotcakes, so like only the first 100,000 copies in the U.S. that have the soundtrack, and as a result, the soundtrack is harder to find these days.
Yeah, see, I don't think I'm the only one who at this point was kind of burnt out on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and for me, this game was like, it was just an awakening. It was like, okay, now a fighting game is being different and just much, like, because Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat just follow the same formula,
right?
Game
Exactly.
after game after game. And this one was just so different.
Yeah, the gameplay in this actually is like pretty good. I mean, like, like I said before, I kind of like fighting games as a whole, but the way they designed the combo system in this game really helps a newbie player because it's not as hard to learn or pull off as in like, say, like the Street Fighters and Mortal Kombats or whatnot.
I couldn't figure it out.
You still have to spend some time practicing on it, but it's not as bad as other games. So
right.
Well,
okay.
So, Yeah, the controls felt fine. I mean, like, I didn't have any problems. I didn't have any problems like the controllers, the controls in this game. So,
Well, you had said to me that you do use a regular Super Nintendo controller.
yes, yep,
Okay. Part of the reason that I gravitated toward the Super Nintendo was because the controller was so much more suited for fighting games.
true, yep,
Yeah, there's
Up
more
until-
buttons and everything.
yeah,
Well, true, but I mean, like I said, I went from the NES to the Genesis. Until the Sega Genesis introduced the 6-button controller, I don't care if it had blood or not. I wanted to play fighting games on the Super Nintendo.
yeah. So, nope, yeah, those extra buttons definitely those extra buttons definitely help a lot, like for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, something else this game also had that was pretty unique. It was one of the few games that actually was colored. Like, you had a colored shell. The PAL Australian, Canada, and U.S. releases of the game, but all had like a black casing. So
Yeah, I think that this was the only game to have a black cartridge. I know that Maximum Carnage and Doom had the red
the red
cartridges.
ones, yep.
Yes.
So, and Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong Country had yellow.
No, that was on 64.
Yeah, that was Donkey Kong 64.
Or was it? Okay, all right.
Yes.
So
now I'm taking George's job of correcting you, Greg. but it was Maximum Carnage and Doom had the red cartridges, but I think Killer Instinct was the only one to have a black card.
I think you're right. Yeah. So, and this game sold very well. I mean, total during its lifetime, the game sold 3.2 million copies.
Yeah, and it kills me how cheap. Oh gosh, see, I'm jumping ahead. I was going to say it kills me how cheap this game is going for these days. Because
it is going for cheap. So, because
Cheap.
there were a lot of copies sold. Heck, there are 150,000 copies sold in the U.S. For release day alone. I mean, that's how much people wanted the game. So, as mentioned earlier, there was a sequel to this game, Killer Instinct 2, which came out in 1996. First the arcade, and then and that game was the one that actually came out on the 60. That actually made it out like on the 64 as Killer Instinct Gold. So. I played that in the arcade. I remember playing Killer Instinct Gold a little bit, but I don't really remember. I don't remember too much about it except just being like more of the same.
Well, it's funny, Greg. Is when I knew that I was going to be doing this show with you, I eBayed myself a copy of Killer Instinct Gold for my N64,
Ooh.
and it did not work.
Oh.
I opened it up, I cleaned the traces, I cleaned the pins, and it's not working. Luckily, I got a full refund, but I didn't get to try it.
Do you have any experience with the game, George?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Killer Instinct 2 is just pretty much more of the same, which of course, since it is just like, since the game, since the first game was so good, it's like, I was like, that's fine. So the basic things I remember being different for that game is that normal moves are not as powerful in that game as like they are like in the first game. So in the first game, like they're very encourage you to use special moves and combos a lot more.
No, from what I understand is that they stuck with the just straight on 2D side by side fighting,
right?
Instead of what a lot of games at the time tried to do,
right?
And mimic 3D.
Yeah. Characters can also characters in Killer Instinct 2 can also be knocked down, like a lot easier. And they also had a super bar, which basically is like a multi-hit super mode. That's what that controls. So, of course,
Super bar is a place that I would like to drink at.
Yeah, and of course you have the usual like more combos, more characters, better graphics, that kind of stuff, etc., etc. So, what you expect for a fighting game?
I think that in that you could play as Idol, the boss from the first game.
Yep. Yes, you could. So after that, Killer Instinct was dead for a long time, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the game came back in 2013.
Yes.
When developed by Rare, published by Microsoft, like the Xbox One.
It's still going on to this day.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this until I started kind of looking into stuff for this show, and it was a launch title, and they continually update it with new methods.
Yeah, and it's a free to play game.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I haven't actually played it though. I heard the good things about it. So,
Well, hey, if you can play as a Battletoad, I might buy an Xbox One just for that. Just
There
to play
you
as a
go.
Battletoad.
oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, as a matter of fact, they also included with that game. They also included a port, a port of the game's arcade version, known as Currency Classic, which is part of that that new game.
Oh,
So-
really?
Oh, that's
I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They also added, that port was developed by Code Mystics, who's done some very good work over the years. They added some additional features. There's new training mode. There's unlockable character galleries and cutscenes. Several filters to pick from, and you can also play the game either to like original 1.4 version or version like the later and more common bug fixed 1.5D version that Ray was talking about earlier. Like how they had to do the fix the arcade the arcade cabinet to fix that bug. So this part of the game allows you to play either version. So
So you can still play the version where Cinder can kill everyone.
Yep. So it's pretty cool.
Really pandering to the big old fans there. That's awesome.
Yep. But so I did not know Karen Snake was still being like updated. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, they call it seasons.
Ah, okay, all right, that makes sense.
Like every once in a while, they just update it and call it. Okay, here's season 2. Here's season 3, and they just add, modes and characters.
Yeah, it's like a free to play game. A lot of free to play games have seasons.
Sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. I applaud them doing that as opposed to what they could do is just release a new version like they do with Madden every year.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, the game has microtransactions still, but they're not scummy.
No. Yeah.
It's like if you want to buy a costume or a character or something. I don't know. I haven't played it, but I know a little bit about it.
Right. Oh, let me also go back and correct myself here before anybody does this.
Greg was wrong on the podcast, guys.
The new Cure Instinct game was Rare helped with developing it, but the actual developers
they didn't develop it. Yeah.
Double Helix Games and Iron Galaxy Studios, the main ones behind it.
Yes.
No, but it was still the original designer that had a hand in it.
Yeah, Rare did still have some input in the game, so I mean, they were
And
involved
I don't
in
think
the process some.
I don't think they're the ones maintaining it. I think it's
No, they're not.
What do you call it? Yeah.
One of the two studios.
Yeah, I think it's what was it? Iron Galaxies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Iron Galaxy and Double Helix.
Yeah, I think Iron Galaxy might be still maintaining it.
Right. So, so the game not only sold very well, it also reviewed very well. EGM gave it 7.75 out of 10. Next Generation gave it like 4 out of 5.
Wait, are we still talking about the new one, or are we talking about the SNES port?
Sorry, Super NES game.
There you go.
Yeah. So it sold well, reviewed well. So, and people still think of it as one of the best fighting games, period. So.
Weird. Those people are odd.
I'm sorry. Like I said, it's my favorite fighting game on the system.
I'm kidding. I'm not super
not
into fighting
my
games, so
favorite,
I
but
have,
it is
I
very,
have
very
nothing to
good.
say about that.
So.
Well, George, we've already decided that I'm odd, and we know that your favorite fighting game is Balls.
You weren't supposed to tell anybody about that.
Yeah, I have a lot more nostalgia for Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, so I guess for me at least those games still are more fun. However, Killer Instinct is a very, very good game. I mean, the arcade game was quite fun. They did a great job porting on the Super NES. It's a very, very good game. It's very solid. I definitely think it deserves all the praise.
Well, for me, this was just a breath of fresh air because you
Exactly,
were so,
yeah, so.
You were so inundated with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat game after game after game, and having something to come out that was actually good and not just a copycat.
Wow.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of hot takes.
Well. Okay, George, go play Clay Fighter, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
We already covered Clay Fighter, so...
Yes, we did. Yes. Yeah. So I think that's mostly everything about the game itself. I still have some additional stuff to talk about here, as far as a cheats in eBay and that kind of stuff. But Ray, you said you had some stories about this game, right?
Well, no, I was just loving the fact that they named a character Combo.
Oh, well, they weren't very creative with the names, period, I think, across the board.
When the combo system was the main mechanic that was introduced in the game, and the combo system has been used ever since Killer Instinct.
True.
Like, they use it in Marvel vs. Capcom, they use it in Tekken now, they use it in all these games. Like I said, it's like it'd be like if a Mortal Kombat character was named Fatality.
Yeah.
It would just be silly. although if they kept the boxer's name as Mr. Fist, it could have had a whole different connotation to it.
Yes, exactly.
What would be his catchphrase?
Okay. Family friendly, George.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just very curious as what he could say before or after he beats you.
No, but I'm gonna just snooze past that. Did you guys? I don't know.
I'm not an alarm that wakes you up to go to work. I cannot be silenced this easily. Go on.
No, but I am not sure, but like, the Riptor character was cool as hell. Do you guys know if this came before or after Primal Rage?
Oh,
I could go look that up.
Yeah, George was talking about that. I think this game came after. I want to say Primal Rage was 92, 93, so...
Primal Rage was 94.
94, okay. So
August
about the same time.
94. Yeah, around the same time.
But yeah, I just thought that the fact that the Riptor character was so distinct in this game, and Primal Rage was just basically Riptor the game. not counting the farting.
I didn't know this was on PlayStation. Ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Primal Rage was, so...
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. Not a very good port. Yeah, not a very good port of the game, like when I remember, but they tried.
Was that the one where you could like pee on each other or whatever?
Yes. Yep.
So there's pee, there's farts, and there's puke.
Yep, I remember that.
Good times. It sounds like a Saturday night at a college fraternity.
Well, if they're puking, then they're lightweights.
So Ray, it sounds like, that you still think this game holds up like pretty well today.
I think it does.
Okay.
Like I said, I will pick this up before I will my copy of Mortal Kombat 2 or Street Fighter.
Okay.
Because it's more frenetic.
Right. No, I agree with that definitely. Yep, 100%. So, George, understanding that you're not. So we understand you're not a huge fighting game fan, but how do you like this? What do you think of this game vis-a-vis the Street Fighters, the Mortal Kombat, etc.?
I'm not crazy about this game. I felt like this game. I don't even know if it was the controller I was using or what, but the game felt pretty stiff actually.
Then it was your controller.
Sure. I guess. I mean, honestly, I would probably prefer like a Mortal Kombat to this. But I think it's interesting that they were trying to come up with unique characters and everything. You got like a dinosaur, and it's not like really like at that time wasn't really common to see stuff out of humans or humanoid type of characters, and you have like dinosaurs and
exactly.
this and that, and yeah. And the combo, I mean, I couldn't figure out the combo thing, but apparently it's
neither
better
could I.
and easier. So like, hey, that's cool.
No, that's fair. Totally understand. So, Ray, were you aware of how many codes and secrets made in this game?
I know of some of them.
There's a lot.
I know that you can like change costume designs at the menu by like
No.
pressing up or down.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go through this list real quick because there's a lot.
Yeah, that's the only one that springs to mind for me.
There are a bunch of codes you can do. You use these codes on the menu screen. There's these combo breakers, fast speed, faster speed, fastest speed. Get alternate costumes, no combo breakers allowed. Play as idol, play as the boss. Use a random character when you fight. And slow speed. You can also do a stage select and music select as well by doing a particular button push sequence on the character select screen. There's also a way in versus mode to come back to life after you've run out of life and should be dead. So that's pretty cool. And if you want to, you can also just simply do unlimited practice fights against Idol. To just if you fight him and let him kill you at the game over screen, let the timer run down, and then go to practice, pick your character, and then you're back up against like Idol again. So this allows you just to practice against him as much as you want to.
Is that a feature or is it a bug?
Probably a feature.
I don't know. I think the fact that you can play as Idol is pretty cool in itself.
Yeah.
It's like when they introduced Goro as a playable character in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so I have to ask you guys, like, who is your favorite character to play as?
Oh, I said mine already. Combo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we talked about this, didn't we?
We did, yes.
It said Glacier Man, Titanic Sink Man.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, my short-term memory is shot.
No, that's fine. So yeah, I mentioned eBay before. This game is wicked cheap and wicked easy to find on there because of how well the game sold.
Was this a million seller? Like,
3.2 million seller.
Woo!
oh,
That's a lot. That's a lot.
If it got re-released as part of the million seller line, I don't know that. I didn't see any pictures of it, so maybe not. But
okay.
But yeah, this game is very easy to find on eBay. When I went looking for it, there was a whopping 259 copies currently on there for sale. 232 copies they recently sold. Yeah, I've never seen a Super NES game this easy to find as this is, and it's also one of the cheapest also.
Yeah, how cheap is it?
These prices include shipping. Card anywhere can run anywhere from $5.80 to $25.50.
Wow.
So, if you want CIB, that's $23 to $23.90. Mind you, those
That's a
prices.
huge gap.
Yeah, mind you, those prices do not include the soundtrack. If you want the soundtrack, that's that's
Probably
more
a pretty
expensive.
penny. Yeah.
Right. There's actually a bunch of sealed copies of sealed copies that sold recently also too. Around 8 of them. So
how much?
again, never seen a game with this many sealed copies available. And they sold anywhere from $101 to $101 to $305.
Wow. Okay. Huh.
So even for sale pricing, that's not bad.
No, it's not.
But if you want a card only, you can make the choice. It's like, am I going to buy this game or am I going to get a lunch at McDonald's?
Yeah, basically yes. Or we can also get
What
the game
kind of
as part
lunch
the
do you
Xbox.
have at McDonald's that could be like $30?
No, I'm saying card only.
Yeah,
I thought-
$5.80,
$5.80 to what though?
$25.50.
Okay. What kind of McDonald's lunch are you having that's like $25?
Oh, I'll scarf 2 Big Macs all day long.
Don't be ashamed. I could do that too.
I used to be able to do that when I was younger, but
All right, sir, it's time to pay. Do you take Killer Instinct cartridges or?
The cart's easy to find. Or if you want to,
It's not bad.
the digital version of the game included with the Xbox One version sounds pretty good too. So,
like I said, I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why was it not more publicized? You know?
Well, if you had an
because-
Xbox One, it would probably be right in your face.
Yeah,
Well, that's
exactly.
true.
So, but
I mean,
That's true.
if you're gonna advertise something, why advertise it anywhere else but the console that people are playing on?
true.
Well,
exactly.
like I said, if it had been more widely announced that Killer Instinct was coming back on that console, I would have bought that console.
Well,
I
you
remember
have an
that game-
opportunity to do that now.
yeah, and to be fair, I do remember that game getting a good deal of press when it came out. I mean, it was 2013,
yeah,
so
I think I did. But you also have to be like following like modern games coverage.
true, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't know. I'm still waiting on the new ColecoVision stuff coming out.
oh yeah, that should be good. Yep. Yeah. But no, I've been following.
Hey,
that,
did you
so,
hear? There's a new console coming out and it plays CDs. So weird. I think it's
Well-
called the PlayStation.
Well,
You hear about this one?
well, they're also coming out with a new television system. So, but you know, like, what's old is new again.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
So-
those weird flat screen TVs. Is that what you're talking about? Like there's like no curve in them. It's really strange. Everything's just getting
Yeah.
all boxy and flat.
Anyway, on that note,
Craig's had enough.
let's go ahead and wrap this up. As always, we appreciate you listening to the podcast. Thank you as always for your support. If you want to give us feedback, comments, game suggestions, whatever, Facebook's a good place to do it. You can also send me an email if you want to. That email is thesnpodcast@yahoo.com. We also have a Patreon at www.patreon.com/the
How do you spell Patreon?
Patreon.
There you go.
I was ready for that, so.
Uh huh.
So we're on that. You can get for some cool perks for those $1 a month. You can get mentioned as being a backer, as I'm doing right now for Corey and David. Thank you very much, you guys. Or you can also get early access to the episodes, or be able to dictate a game. So, Ray, we want to thank you very much for being on the podcast with us. It was a pleasure. It's always fun to have somebody come on here and talk about their favorite game and whatnot. So, I'm just glad the technical difficulties we had when we started didn't rear their ugly head again, because
Yes.
yeesh.
No. Hey, we fought through it, and
Yes.
gentlemen, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So, George has an announcement to make to wrap up this episode. So, I will give you the floor, George.
All right. So, it's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think I want to take 1 or 2 steps back on the whole podcasting thing. So Greg and I have been talking about this for a little bit, and I'm not going to be completely gone. I mean, I'm still going to be editing episodes, I think, unless Greg fires me. But the other thing is, instead of completely leaving, I'll be around probably once a month to cover something on the podcast. But I am taking a few steps back to cool down a little bit. If you listen to Master System Masterpieces and PlayStation Power, you probably noticed that they're not coming out either, and that is definitely part of that kind of stuff. Podcasting has kind of just I got some stuff going on, and it's kind of maybe burned me out a little bit, but not as much as to just completely run away from everything. So you will definitely hear me on SNES podcast, just not as often.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So,
Yep.
as a matter of fact, we already have plans for George to come back. George to come back in 2 episodes to cover a game. So, he will still be around. So, George, it sucks that this is happening, but I do understand totally. Real life and everything has to take priority. So.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for the years. Wow, it has been years.
It has been years.
Yeah. For your help and support and for doing this podcast with me. So
Yeah.
I right now am trying to find out who who I want to have take George's place. We already had this guest episode lined up with Ray anyway, months ago before this went down. So, but Ray also expressed interest in being on the podcast on a regular basis. So this is also a good way to find out, trial run per se, quote unquote. I'm doing an episode next time with another person who's expressed interest in being on the podcast. We're still trying to determine what game we want to cover, so I apologize. I can't, I can't say like I usually do what game's coming up next. But tune in for another special episode with like another a special guest host, and after that, I should be able to make a decision. So it will not be a very long process, I hope. And George, thank you again for being willing to edit the podcast and everything, because that's a huge relief off my shoulders for sure. So so it means a lot to me. So again, I already had said this on Facebook and whatnot about George's departure, but I know that everybody on the podcast listens. Yeah, I'll be okay. Read social media, so.
Not all the listeners of the podcast read the social media.
Yes.
There you
go. So definitely wanted to definitely want to let everybody know. So, but anyway, thank you again, guys, for joining me as always to cover like another game and how can I end this?
You can say goodbye.
Okay, goodbye, all. Have a good night.
There you go.
Take care.
Bye.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power.